Kenny's thoughts horrified her, not because she believed them, but because she couldn't stop them. These thoughts were vivid, disturbing, and, worst of all, targeted the people she loved most. This is the hidden face of OCD. This conversation is a fictional dramatization. Always seek the advice of qualified medical professionals. For Kenny, church had always been her sanctuary, a place of peace and safety. Until one day, it wasn't. Shocked, she asks, Why would I think that about the pastor? She tried to shake it off, but the harder she tried, the stronger it came back. Kenny swallows hard, tears welling up. She bows her head, pretending to pray, then quietly slips out of the pew and leaves the church. In the priest's office, later in the afternoon, the priest sits across from Kenny, his expression calm. Kenny says, her voice trembling, I think evil thoughts about people I love, even God. I feel disgusting. The priest leans forward, speaking gently. Thoughts are not sins, child. But maybe speak to a mental health professional too. Kenny nodded, but deep down, she wasn't convinced. She left with her shame intact and a growing fear that she was irredeemable. That night, in her bedroom, Kenny kneels by her bed, whispering rapid prayers, tears streaming down her face. She says, I must be possessed or sick. Why can't I stop this? She starts fasting, skipping meals, reading scripture for hours, pacing. She avoids eye contact with her nephew, clutching her hands tightly when he's near. She began avoiding people, avoiding life. Because what if another thought came? What if she lost control? One night, she stands by the sink in the kitchen, exhausted, staring at her reflection in the window. She says, I'm tired of being in my own head, tired of feeling like a danger to everyone I love. While she had these thoughts, her phone buzzes. It was a message from her friend. Hey, there's this therapist I know. She's helped people with intrusive thoughts. Please just talk to her. Kenny hesitates, then replies, Okay. After a few days, Kenny visits the therapist. Dr. Chris sits across from Kenny, listening without judgment. You're not your thoughts, Kenny. Everyone gets intrusive ones, sexual, violent, blasphemous. The difference is, OCD latches on and doesn't let you move past them. So, I'm not evil, Kenny asks, surprised. You're human, and you're very brave for facing this. Dr. Chris replies. It was the first time Kenny had heard that her thoughts didn't define her, that her mind was simply playing a cruel trick, one she could learn to live with. Dr. Chris hands her a pamphlet titled ERP, Exposure and Response Prevention. Some days later, Kenny sits at a table, deliberately allowing a disturbing thought to surface and resisting the urge to pray it away. She breathes slowly, guided by a voice note from her therapist. Another day, in the market, she passes a church stall selling candles. A thought comes. She frowns but keeps walking. She writes down in her journal, Intrusive thoughts do not define me. Kenny learned to face the thoughts instead of fighting them, not to believe them, but to accept they were just noise. Kenny again visits her therapist. She smiles faintly, sitting more relaxed than before. She says, They still come, but now I don't fall apart when they do. Dr. Chris responds, That's progress, Kenny. Recovery isn't about never having the thoughts. It's about no longer giving them power. Kenny nods, her eyes finally bright with hope. She thanks Dr. Chris, then heads to church. Kenny sits before the priest again, this time with a small smile. Father, I still get the thoughts, but I've learned they're not me. The priest's eyes soften as he replies her, And that, my child, is freedom. Not the absence of temptation, but the knowledge that it has no hold over you. Later that evening, Kenny sits cross-legged on the floor, playing a board game with her young nephew, Daniel. Her sister watches from the couch, smiling. Daniel laughs as Kenny lets him win, high-fiving him without hesitation. Where fear once built walls, Kenny now built moments. She learned she could be present, fully, without giving power to the noise in her head. Kenny picks Daniel up and spins him around playfully. For the first time in months, there's no shadow in her smile. Kenny still has thoughts she doesn't want, but now she sees them for what they are. Uninvited guests, not reflections of her soul. If you've ever had a thought that made you question who you are, you're not alone. Your thoughts do not define you. And like Kenny, you can learn to let them pass. If you or someone you know is struggling, you do not have to carry it alone. Visit our website at www.meplacidhealth.com to book a session and take the first step towards healing.